Hare Krishna, Radesha Prabhu, are you available to lead Kirtan? Guru Maharaj, do you have anybody there who would like to lead?
I'm sorry, I was engaged here.
Guru Maharaj, anybody there?
I have no one here, but you have Radhesha.
Yeah, Radesha Prabhu maybe almost getting to the
He's at a commission.
commission. Sorry, I mean. So I guess that leaves it to me unless Radesha Prabhu comes up in the next few seconds. Okay.
I would love to hear your kirtan, Rasananda Prabhu.
We have another possible Kirtan leader.
His internet connection is Kiranagari.
Okay. And I will be Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai Om Vishnupad Punaman Supadi Prajakacharya Stotras Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gop Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kundagiri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai Navadip Dham Ki Jai Jagannath Puri Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Jamuna Mai Ki Jai Tulsi Devi Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakti Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Caitanya Caritamrita with His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami. It is Thursday, July 24th in 2025, and we're starting with text 98 of chapter 14 in Adi-lila.
There is no text 98.
Oh.
We're starting chapter 15.
Chapter 15, text 1. Is that right?
Well, there's a synopsis of the chapter, and then we come to text 1.
Okay. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Ramesh, would you like to speak on the, or should I?
I'm happy if you read the synopsis.
Okay. Synopsis. The Lord's Adi-lila. A synopsis of the 15th chapter is as follows. The Lord took lessons in grammar from Gangadas Pandit and became very expert in commenting upon grammar. He forbade his mother to take grains on the Ekadashi day. He narrated a story that Vishvarup, after accepting the sannyas order, invited him in a dream to accept sannyas also. But the Lord refused and was therefore sent back home. When Jagannath Mishra passed away, the Lord married the daughter of Vallabhacharya, whose name was Lakshmi. All these events are summarized in this chapter.
Well, carry on.
Okay. Carrying on to text 1 of chapter 15. Adi-lila. Kumana su manastvam hi yati yasya padab vajayo sumano rupana matrena tam Caitanya Prabhum bhaje. Translation. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Lord Caitanya, because simply by offering a flower at his lotus feet, even the most ardent materialist becomes a devotee. Any comments there?
Yeah. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namini Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Ashtatadesha Tarine. Kaviraj Goswami begins each chapter with a Sanskrit verse. And here, that's what he does. Kumana Sumanastvam Hi. Kumana means having a bad mind. Having a bad mind. The mana, or rather, Sumana means, Kumana means having a bad mind. Sumana means having a very nice mind. So even a person who's Kumana becomes Sumana. And Prabhupada explains that a bad mind means interested in activities of material sense enjoyment. And Sumana means having the mind position of a devotee without material desires. So, Kumana Sumanas Tvam Hi Yati Yasya Padabjaya. If that person offers a lotus, a flower at the lotus feet of the Lord, Arpana Matrena, simply by doing that, he becomes even the most ardent materialist, Prabhupada said, becomes a devotee. And so, Tam Chaitanya Prabhu Bhaje, I offer my obeisances to that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. There's something else going on here. I don't really understand it. Sumana can also mean a flower. So Kaviraj Goswami is playing on words here. Sumana meaning having a good mind, being a devotee, and also Sumana can mean a flower. I don't really understand how that works, but I can see that he's got play on words going. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Raj, I have a question.
Except that we can say that even an ardent materialist becomes a devotee. So that's the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, I have a question.
Hmm.
Is this unique to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or is this the same for other incarnations?
Well, of course, by the mercy of Krishna says, Patram Pushpam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Pranashati. Bhakti Padatamashnami Prayatatmanam. If someone offers me with love and devotion, even a flower, I accept it. And of course, if Krishna accepts your flower, then your life is perfect. But so it may apply elsewhere. Krishna can be merciful in any incarnation, but still Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is abundantly merciful, more even than Krishna, because Krishna prema pradayate. Krishna insisted you surrender. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu just, here, take love of Krishna. Is that all right?
Yep.
I'm not too bad.
For text 2, would you like to read, Guru Maharaj, or would you like to? Is your voice strained, or should we pass it off to others?
You can read the next verse.
Okay. Text 2. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jayādvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhaktarinda. Translation. All glories to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. All glories to Lord Nityananda Prabhu. All glories to Advaita Acharya. And all glories to all the devotees of Lord Chaitanya.
Keep going. Next verse is also.
Yeah, in the chat. Praveen Prabhu. What does the Sanskrit dictionary say about Sumana?
Okay, hold on, we'll look it up.
I did a search through Vedabase. There's a bunch of hits for Sumana, meaning flower, in Srimad Bhagavatam and other places.
It can also mean nutmeg, according to Moni Williams. Yeah, great flowering, name of various plants, flowering jasmine. The underlying meaning, very charming, beautiful, handsome. So it can be a name for various flowers. Flowering jasmine, Rosa glandulifera, or chrysanthemum indicum. So, Sumana. Poets can do these things, play with words very charmingly and significantly. All right.
Text 3. Shall I?
Okay.
Do you want to read, Guru Maharaj, or?
All right. Adi-lila Shutra Koryegonon Poganda Vyase Prabhur Mukhya Ajayan. Let me now enumerate the activities of the Lord between the ages of 5 and 10. His chief occupation during this period was to engage himself in study. Now we have another Sanskrit verse. Poganda lila chaitanya Krishna syati savistrita vidyarampa mukha pani grahananta manohara. The pastimes of the Lord during his Poganda age were very extensive. His education was his chief occupation, and after that, his very beautiful marriage took place. Manohara, charming, or taking away the mind, so charming. Ganga Dasha Pandit Sthane Parena Vyakoran Shravan Matre Konte Koila Shutra Vritti Gon. When the Lord was studying grammar at the place of Gangadas Pandit, he would immediately learn grammatical rules and definitions by heart, simply by hearing them once. Purport. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the Lord was given lessons by a teacher named Vishnu and another teacher named Sudarshan. Later on, when he was a little grown up, he was under the care of Gangadas Pandit, who taught him grammar of a higher standard. Anyone serious about studying the Sanskrit language should first learn grammar. It is said that simply to finish studying Sanskrit grammar takes at least 12 years. But once one learns the grammatical rules and regulations very nicely, all other scriptures or subject matters in Sanskrit are extremely easy to understand, where Sanskrit grammar is the gateway to education. We used to call primary school grammar school. Students would learn grammar. Now, even English grammar is iffy, whether American students can write a straight English sentence is open to question. AI will do it well, but whether the students can do it is an open matter. In any case, Sanskrit grammar, the students would learn first the sutras of Panini. Panini is a globally famous grammarian. He's codified the entire grammar of the Sanskrit language in sutras, very short, condensed mantras. And these students, their first business would be just to memorize the mantras. They wouldn't have to understand anything about what they meant. They just have to memorize them. And later, the mantras would be explained to them. So now they've got all the mantras and they know what they mean. So they're equipped to understand and explain Sanskrit grammar. And when you understand the grammar, then you can understand what's being said. Otherwise, you're going to be confused or left behind. Olpakale hoila panji tikate probin chirakaler paduya jine hoya nabin. He soon became so expert in commenting on the Panjitika that he could win victory over all the other students, although he was a neophyte. Purport, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, there was a commentary on grammar named Panjitika that was later explained very lucidly by Sri Caitanya Mahaprabhu. Adi-lila Prabhu Dasha Brindavan Chaitanya Mangale Koila Vishtari Bornan. In his book Chaitanya Mangal, which later became Chaitanya Bhagavat, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur has very elaborately described the Lord's pastimes of study. Purport, the Chaitanya Bhagavat Adi Kanda, chapters 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 are good reference for the studious pastimes of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Ekadin Matar Pade Koriya Pranam Prabhu kahe mata more deha ekadam. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu fell down at the feet of his mother and requested her to give him one thing in charity. Mata bole, tai diba, ja tumi magibe, Prabhu kahe ekadoshi ite, annana kaibe. His mother replied, "My dear son, I'll give you whatever you ask." Then the Lord said, "My dear mother, please do not eat grains on the Ekadashi day." Purport: From the very beginning of his childhood life, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduced the system of observing a fast on the Ekadashi day. In the Bhakti Sandarbha by Srila Jiva Goswami, there's a quotation from the Skanda Purana admonishing that a person who eats grains on Ekadashi becomes a murderer of his mother, father, brother, and spiritual master. And even if he's elevated to a Vaikuntha planet, he falls down. On Ekadashi, everything is cooked for Vishnu, including regular grains and dal. But it is enjoined that a Vaishnav should not even take Vishnu prasadam on Ekadashi. It is said that a Vaishnav does not accept anything eatable that is not offered to Lord Vishnu. But on Ekadashi, a Vaishnav should not touch even Mahaprasadam offered to Vishnu, although such prasadam may be kept for being eaten the next day. It is strictly forbidden for one to accept any kind of grain on Ekadashi, even if it is offered to Lord Vishnu. So here it appears that of course, Lord Vishnu doesn't fast, so he can be offered everything on Ekadashi, but a devotee won't eat any grains on Ekadashi, even if they're offered to Lord Vishnu. There's some chat box questions.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, Saraswati Machi writes, Pranamas Param Puja Maharaj and all the Vaishnavas. Does it mean the materialist who offers a flower to Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu will become a devotee, but not necessarily a pure devotee immediately?
It seems so. I don't see people offering flowers and then boom. But this result certainly can take place. It even take place immediately if the Lord so desires. But generally we expect that the change may not be immediate.
Saraswati Mataji writes, said Sanskrit is language of the gods. So do residents of higher planets in material universe and spiritual worlds converse in Sanskrit only?
I can't say for sure. In the spiritual worlds, we might expect Braj Bhasha to be spoken in the Loka Vrindavan. I don't really know. The demigods, of course, are famous for Sanskrit. I wouldn't expect them to be speaking German or French or English. But whether the spiritual world is Sanskrit, I can't say. What is that? Ta ganam nacham gamanampi. In the spiritual world, all speaking is singing. Not much we can say. And all walking is dancing.
So imagine what the singing and dancing are like.
Yes. Kahe na kaiba hala I kohila she vaite ekadashi korite lagila. Mother Shachi said, "You've spoken very nicely. I shall not eat grains on Ekadashi." From that day, she began to observe fasting on Ekadashi. Purport. It's a prejudice among smarta Brahmins that a widow, must observe fasting on Ekadashi, but a woman who is sadhava, who has her husband, should not. It appears that before Lord Chaitanya's request, Shachi Mata, being sadhava, was not observing Ekadashi. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, however, introduced the system that a woman, even if not a widow, must observe the Ekadashi day and must not touch any kind of grains, even those offered to the deity of Vishnu. All right. Someone else like to read?
Praveen Brew writes, it is still system in Bengal.
Mm,
And I have a question about this.
yes.
Does Lord Chaitanya's change in the Ekadashi rules reflect any philosophical differences with those at the time?
I don't see a philosophical point at issue here. Seems to be a question of practice, what one does.
Panchatattva Brew, would you like to continue with text?
Sure. I took a quick look in the database, as one does. There is some Bhagavatam class Prabhupada was giving Surat in December of 1970. And he mentions that in Vaikuntha also, they speak in Sanskrit. So, of course, that doesn't necessarily mean Goloka, but there he's saying like that. And glorifying the Sanskrit language, of course. Interesting.
Thank you.
Text 11. Tabe Mishra Vishwaruper Dekhiya Yovan Kanya Chahe Vivaha Dite Karile Naman. Thereafter, seeing that Vishwarupa was a grown-up youth, Jagannath Mishra wanted to find a girl and arrange a marriage ceremony for him. Vishwarupa Suni Ghar Chadi Pralaila Sanyasa Koriya Tirtha Karibhare Kela. Hearing of this, Vishwarupa immediately left home and went away to accept sannyas and travel from one place of pilgrimage to another. Any comments, Guru Maharaj?
It appears that Vishwarupa was keen to avoid marriage. Also, we see that this was the duty of the father to get these sons and daughters married. This was a serious responsibility of the parents to see that the son, and especially the daughter, is married. Now, increasingly, that duty is being abnegated, and parents don't feel responsible. Let the daughter find her own husband, let the son find his own wife. Our duty is to get them educated, to get them into a good college, get them started on their career, and marriage is they'll figure that out on their own. So this reflects the degradation of the Vedic culture, decline Vedic culture. Hare Krishna.
Something in the chat. Praveen Prabhu writes, he attained samadhi in Pandharpur.
Yes, Maharashtra.
Panchatattva Prabhu, you can continue to the purport.
Sure.
Text 14, that's right.
Yes. Shuni Sachi Mishrer Duki Hailaman, Tebe Prabhu Mata Pitar Koila Asvasan. When Sachimata and Jagannath Mishra heard of the departure of their elder son, Vishvarupa, they were very unhappy, but Lord Chaitanya tried to console them. Bala Haila Vishvarupa Sanyasa Karila, Pitrikula, Matrikula, Dui Udharila. My dear mother and father, the Lord said, it is very good that Vishvarupa has accepted the sannyas order, for thus he has delivered both his father's family and his mother's family. Purport. It is sometimes said that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu disapproved of the acceptance of the sannyas order in this Kali Yuga, because in the Shastra it is said, Ashramedam Gavalambham, Sannyasam Palapaitrikam, Devarena Sutotpatim, Kalo Panchavivarjayat. In this age of Kali, 5 acts are forbidden: the offering of a horse in sacrifice, the offering of a cow in sacrifice, the acceptance of the order of sannyas, the offering of oblations of flesh to the forefathers, and a man's begetting children in his brother's wife. That's from the Brahma-Vaivarta Purana, Krishna Janma Khanda 185-180. Nevertheless, we see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself accepted sannyas and approved of the sannyas of his elder brother Vishvarupa. It is clearly said here, Bala Hoila Vishvarupa Sannyas Karila Pitrikula Matrikula Dui Udarila. Therefore should it be thought that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu made statements that are contradictory? No, actually he did not. It is recommended that one accept sannyas to dedicate his life for the service of the Lord, and everyone must take that kind of sannyas. For by accepting such sannyas, one renders the best service to both his paternal and maternal families. But one should not accept the sannyas order of the Mayavad school, which has practically no meaning. We find many Mayavadi sannyasis simply loitering in the street, thinking themselves Brahman or Narayan, and spending all day and night begging so they can fill their hungry bellies. Mayavadi sannyasis have become so degraded that there is a section of them who eat everything, just like hogs and dogs. It is such degraded sannyas that it is prohibited in this age. Actually, Srila Sankaracharya's principles for the acceptance of sannyas were very strict. But later, the so-called Mayavadi sannyasis became degraded because of their false philosophy, which propounds that by accepting sannyas one becomes Narayan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected that kind of sannyas, but the acceptance of sannyas is one of the items of the Varnashram Dharma. How then can it be rejected? Guru Maharaj, would you like to say something?
Nothing much to add here unless there are any questions.
There are questions in the chat. Saraswati Machi writes, did Vishvarupa have disciples?
Not that I know of.
Praveen Prabhu writes, one can still see the Sringari, the Mayavadi sannyasis very strict.
Yes. On Padayatra, we visited now Kanchipur, which is one of the seats of the Shankaracharyas. At that time, there were 3 Shankaracharyas. There was the present one, who was very elderly and respected. And then there was a younger man who was not generally well thought of. I think wound up spending jail time. And there was a young boy who was the next in succession. So they were the successor and his successor were already lined up. But the elder Shankaracharya was there and sitting very simply on a sort of a wooden platform, wooden stage, and people would come and take his darshan. And you could see he was very serious, effulgent, and austere. And yes, a strict follower. And Lokanath Maharaj asked him for his, he asked us to do Sankirtan because the devotees were there, the whole party. We did Sankirtan, and Lokanath Maharaj asked for blessings. And he said that I wish that this Sankirtan shine all over the world. Credit to the Shankaracharya. Then it was time for the young boys' Sanskrit lesson. So there were different sannyasis who were surrounding the young boy to teach him and so on. And it looked like the BBT painting of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu surrounded by the Mayavadi sannyasis. They were all very stern, and in the words of Kaviraj Goswami, they looked like dry oil cakes without the oil. But they were serious. They were not the nonsense Mayavadi sannyasis who, as Prabhupada said, eat everything and make it the business of sannyas to just be engaged in filling their bellies. These were strict sannyasis. So although we disagree with their conclusions, we respect that they were following these Vedic disciplines.
Ramesh, I have a question here. I see that one of the Puranas are quoted. To what extent are the other Puranas part of our literature?
I'm sorry, could you speak a little loud?
To what extent are the other Puranas part of our literature?
They're all part of our literature, but they're divided into three groups. There are 18 Puranas, and it's said that 6 are for people in the mode of goodness, 6 passion, and 6 ignorance. Padma Purana, for example, is Vishnu Purana. These are in the mode of goodness. Then there are Puranas that are in the modes of passion and ignorance. So naturally, we give more importance to those that are for people in the mode of goodness, and supreme importance to Srimad Bhagavatam, Amalam Purana. Is that okay?
Thank you very much. For Saraswati Mahashi, would you be able to read the chat from now on? Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Pradesha Prabhu, are you available to read our next text?
Are we on 15?
Yes.
All right. Text 15. Amita koribe toma dunghara sevanam. Shunya santushta hoila pita mataramana. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu assured his parents that he would serve them, and thus the minds of his father and mother were satisfied. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Guru Dasa Jayādvaita Swami Niti Namani. Just wanted to say Matra Bhakta Shiromani. I really like that phrase, the greatest devotee of his mother and his father, the duty of the child. What a blessing to have been given this human form, and we owe it to the parents, and then we take second birth, and so we owe such a debt to our spiritual master. And so when we say very humbly that we'll serve our spiritual master, then the mind of the spiritual master is also satisfied. So the mother and father and service to the spiritual master and to Shastra will benefit us and please our superiors. Text 16. Ekadina Naivedya Tambulakaya Bhumite Padela Prabhu Achetana Haya. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ate betel nuts offered to the deity, but they acted as an intoxicant, and he fell down on the ground, unconscious. Betel nuts are an intoxicant, and therefore the regulative principles prohibit eating them. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's pastime of fainting after eating betel nuts is a solid instruction to all of us that one should not touch betel nuts, even those offered to Vishnu, just as one should not touch grains on the Ekadasi day. Of course, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's fainting had a particular purpose. As the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he can do whatever he likes and eat whatever he wants, but we should not imitate his pastimes. This goes back to the same topics that are well tread, perhaps, but you can't imitate Shiva drinking poison, so you shouldn't imitate his smoking ganja. You can't imitate Krishna lifting Govardhan Hill, so you also can't imitate his rasa dance. But I do have a question, Guru Maharaj. The betel nuts that are offered to the deities in Mayapur, I know His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj instructs his disciples to just distribute them or hand them to animals. I'm not sure, but at least in Mayapur and in Jagannath Puri, I've seen betel nuts offered to the deities. And one time, the vice president of the Jagannath Puri ISKCON temple, this is back in like 2008. I'm not making a regular habit of it, don't worry. But he told me, go ahead and try one. They were wrapped up very nicely with a little nutmeg connector. And I ate one, and it was a little bit spicy, but there was no intoxicating effect. And so I don't fully understand this big talk of betel nuts being an intoxicant. It seems like perhaps such a mild intoxicant, if at all, that either what they're offering to the deities is a subdued version of the pawn that's intoxicating, or I must be missing something. But it didn't seem to me like an intoxicant. So if anybody has any experience, or Guru Maharaj, if you have any light to shed on this topic, I don't understand the topic of betel nuts. Hare Krishna. Am I frozen, or am I being heard?
I hear you. Nice.
Oh, okay. Does anybody have? I could keep reading. I don't want to hold up the chat on topics of betel nuts.
I just commented that evidently Krishna did not want you to get intoxicated.
I was spared the delightful experience.
You got a pass on that one.
Praveen Prabhu
we do have some information courtesy of GPT 4.0. Betel nuts contain several active compounds that contribute to their intoxicating effects. Ericoline, this is the primary alkaloid in betel nuts, which acts as a stimulant. It can enhance alertness and provide a sense of euphoria. Other alkaloids, besides ericoline, betel nuts contain other compounds like arecaidine and guvacin, which can also affect the central nervous system. And they do, while betel nuts can provide a stimulating effect, they also come with significant health risks. They can lead to addiction, dependence, and addiction. And it can also cause oral cancers, gum disease, and so on. So they are stimulants. In what quantity, and also we see that they're addictive. That like people who start chewing betel nut go on and on chewing betel nut.
Should I continue reading?
Can we have something in the chat box. Sorry there. Praveen Prabhuji says, we see some cases in India where the boys run away from home when parents look for a girl.
Yeah, if all the boys knew what was coming, they'd all run.
And he adds that our temple does not add the betel nut. Pan can be made without betel nuts too. Devotees can take that. I can just say something about, at least in the Pushti Marg run temples, like, well, Sri Nathdwar, that they do offer the Lord what they call pan bidi, but it's a pan, and inside they have fennel seeds and sopari. I don't know what the English word for sopari is, but those are then distributed to the devotees. So it looks like, at least in those temples, it's all right for other devotees to accept that prasadam. Hare Krishna.
It seems that the standard pronunciation is beetle, by the way.
Betel nut.
I wondered about that myself. So say the dictionaries.
Here in Hawaii, we have large crops of betel nut palms. There's a market for it on this island. Well, I don't want to hog the reading. Am I passing it on to somebody, or what are my?
Please go on.
Okay, text 17. Aste vyaste pita mata muke dilapani sustahanya kahe prabhu apurva kahini. After his mother and father sprinkled water on his mouth with great haste, the Lord revived and said something wonderful they had never heard before. Etahaite Vishvarupa Moralanya Gela Sanyase Karahatumi Amara Kahila. The Lord said, Vishvarupa took me away from here, and he requested me to accept the sannyas order. Ami kahi amara anata pitamata, ami balaka sannyasera kiva jani kata. I replied to Vishvarupa, I have my helpless father and mother, and also I am but a child. What do I know about the sannyas order of life? Grihasta haya kariba pita matara sevana, ihate tushta habena Lakshmi Narayana. Later I shall become a householder and thus serve my parents, for this action will very much satisfy Lord Narayana and his wife, the goddess of fortune. Tabe Vishvarupa iha pataila more, mata ke kahya koti koti namaskare. Then Vishvarupa returned me home and requested, offer thousands and thousands of obeisances unto my mother, Shachi Devi. E mata nanya lila kare gora hari, ki karana lila iha bhujita napari. In this way, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu performed various pastimes, but why he did so, I cannot understand. The Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees who come to this world are executing a mission, and therefore, sometimes they act in a way that is very difficult to understand. It is said, therefore, Vaishnavera kriya mudha vigya na bhujya. Even if one is very learned and intelligent scholar, he cannot understand the activities of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava accepts anything favorable for executing his mission, but foolish persons, not knowing the purpose of such exalted Vaishnavas, indulge in criticizing them. That is forbidden, since no one can understand what a Vaishnava does for the purpose of executing his mission. To criticize such a Vaishnava is the offense called sadhu ninda. Guru Maharaj, perhaps I would like to hear from you.
There's a context to the entire Prabhupada's entire Chaitanya Charitamrita that older devotees would be aware of and perhaps becoming less well known. I don't really know. But Srila Prabhupada himself was subjected to relentless criticism by his godbrothers, and so Prabhupada's commenting on that here. It's not a happy theme, but back in the days when Prabhupada was establishing his mission, there was what appeared to be envy. There's one of my favorite letters from Srila Prabhupada was written to a senior godbrother who was an acharya of one of the big branches of the institution. And they were holding a golden jubilee ceremony, something like that, marking the anniversary of the Mat. And they sent something to Prabhupada talking about the upcoming, what we would call a newsletter, some sort of communication about the upcoming ceremonies, celebrations, and sort of glorifying the activities of the members of the Mat, and one godbrother who'd gone to London and done successful preaching in London, and so on, sort of the glorious activities of the Gaudiya Mat preachers. So Prabhupada wrote him a letter that Acharya said, I've received your communication, recounting the glories of the preacher of Gaudiya Mat. But how is it that you've not mentioned anything about our humble activities? And you've mentioned the activities of such and such preacher, decades ago, and his successful preaching. And if he was so successful, Prabhupada wrote, why did Guru Maharaj call him back? And a real zinger of a line, he said, don't you know the history? Because, of course, everyone knew the history. But they wouldn't do anything to help Prabhupada. And in so many ways, they tried to block him. So Prabhupada regretted that, and was not, what's the word, shy about, excessively shy about commenting on that state of affairs in these Caitanya Caritamrita reports. Now, of course, this has all changed. Back in those days, they could dispute that Prabhupada had really accomplished all that much. I remember hearing one sannyasi say that, of course, Prabhupada, Swami Maharaj was great. The real powerhouse was Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. That was to minimize Prabhupada. There's so many things. But now it's like a settled matter. No one that I know of can slight Srila Prabhupada or say that he was somehow a minor figure, or that he was, that he was a minor figure, and that other members of the Gaudiya Mat had accomplished so much more. It's just settled. It's undeniable that Srila Prabhupada accomplished extraordinary things. And practically speaking, all the members of the Gaudiya Mat recognize that. And today we find that so many members of the Gaudiya Mat sincerely honor Prabhupada and appreciate Srila Prabhupada. So the atmosphere has changed. I remember when the Krishna Balaram temple opened, various Sanskrit pundits, well-learned people, including one very learned Sanskrit pundit, glorified Prabhupada in one line. I only recall one line from verses he wrote. Sri Bhakti Siddhanta Pradhana Shishya. That Prabhupada was the foremost disciple of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And that's a fact. Not to minimize the other members of the Gaudiya Math who made contributions in their own way, but just to say that Srila Prabhupada's contributions were extraordinary and unprecedented. All right, there's a last question, and we're also reaching our time.
Murari Prabhuji writes, Hare Krishna Maharaj, there's the danger that an individual can act in unusual ways, pushing the envelope on what is acceptable and claim that others can't understand them. What's the guard against that?
Yeah, that is there. The assembly of Vaishnavas should be pure devotees so that they can properly appreciate the activities of the other members. If the leaders are themselves neophytes, turf protectors, and so on, then they'll have a hard time knowing who's genuine and who's deviant. They won't be able to appreciate the great devotees. They may criticize great devotees or may glorify neophyte devotees beyond what they deserve. So the leaders should be pure devotees. Prabhupada said, basically, that's what he wanted. The GBC members and other leaders should all be pure devotees. Then Krishna will guide their judgment. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Praveen Prabhuji, for letting me know that sopari is betel nuts. It's a good thing I never liked it then. I think it's time for kirtan. Yavananandan, Mataji, would you like to lead the closing kirtan if it's possible?
While we connect with Yovanananda Mata, I did want to say that I'm reading from an older copy of Caitanya Caritamrita. So I stumbled over the verse Vaishnavera Kriya Mudra Vigyeha Nabhujiya, because it's written a little differently before, but it seems that it's been corrected since. But I just wanted to, in case anybody caught my mispronunciation, I was reading the text, but it says Mudha instead of Mudra, and it says Vigye instead of Vingyeha. So Hare Krishna. For what it's worth, if anybody is fond of that verse as I am.
Hare Krishna, I won't be able to approve. Maybe someone else can.
Radhesha Prabhuji, would you like to lead the closing kirtan?
Sure. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Stotra Shata Shishamad Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaur Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhana Ki Jai Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Thank you all so much for being here for Chaitanya Charitamrita reading. Chaitanya Charitamrita Ki Jai. His Holiness Jayādvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai.
Jai.
Gaur Premanande.
Hari Bol.
Hari Bol.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Thank you, Panchatattva. Thank you to all. Hare Krishna.